insane, bro!
And here is my Escape the Volcano game in Pygame Zero. Firstly, the instructions will come up on the screen. Then the platforms will start moving, and the player can move and jump. If you fall into the lava, you will respawn back onto a platform. After you lose 3 lives, then the game over will show, also showing what level you made it to. So, the aim of the game is to jump on the platforms, avoid hitting the lava, and escape from the volcano. In the top left corner, the current level is displayed, and in the top right corner, the number of lives is displayed in the form of hearts. The platforms will continue to move at the speed that is relative to the level number. That is, as the level increases, the speed of the platforms also increases. Here, as the platforms become very fast at the higher levels, they appear to shake and shimmer as such, because it seems that they're moving at an unstable speed within the volcano. This is done by changing the amount of blue showing, making it fade higher and lower as the level increases, making it more shaky. To complete the game, the player must reach level 10, where they will have escaped the volcano. Here is the code for the Escape the Volcano game. Okay, so firstly we're going to import both random and Pygame, and then set the width and the height of the game window. Now here we define the player as an actor with the image name, and then the X and Y velocity, which you use later down. Then we have some game mechanic variables like jumping, gravity, game over and winning, and level stuff. Then we have the platforms here, so we define the X and Y platforms or values of the platforms as separate variables, then put them in here so that we can change them more easily, and that is the width and length of the actual platform itself. Then we create a list with all the platforms in it. We also create actors for each of the little hearts in the top right corner, and then we initialize some Pygame mixer stuff for sounds. Okay, so first we have a function called collide check, which will check collisions between the player and the platform. Then here we have the start game variable, which is used later down, and the jump recently one. Okay, so this is the moving function, which allows the player to move and also allows them to like fall down left and right and respawn as well. Okay, so firstly we want to make sure that if the player isn't moving, that it's set to the normal image, which is called figure. Now here with gravity, we're firstly calling on the collide check function to see whether it's touching the platform or not. So if it is, then we don't want the player to move, we want them to be still. Except we want them to move their X along with the platform. So the same speed as the platform, their X variable will go to the left. But their Y will stay the same and gravity will go back to normal. And jumped will equal false, which means that they will be able to jump. However, if it is not touching a platform, which means it's going to be falling down due to gravity, the Y is going to increase by the gravity, and then we're going to increase the gravity amount here. And so if the player is falling too fast, or falling faster than usual, then we'll change the costume back to normal because they can't move left or right. And finally, this here stops the player from going above the screen. Okay, so for the left and right, for movement left and right, if the keyboard left is pressed, so that the player doesn't go to the left of the screen, and if they're not going too fast, then we increase the velocity, because the velocity for negative is left, because left is 0. And then if it's going right and not out of the screen and it's not too high, we do the same thing. And obviously also we're going to change the image to running left or running right. So now if the user jumps by pressing the up button, and they're on a platform because you can't jump in air, and they haven't jumped previously, then we're going to increase their velocity, their Y velocity, up a decent amount. Because when you jump, your first explosive power is going to go high, but then gravity is going to slow you down. And this line here slows the player down. And then also this as well. But this is just changing their Y velocity and putting it into the Y value to change the player. And if nothing else happens, then they're not moving their Y value. And this also moves the X value by the X velocity. Okay, this is some velocity mechanics here that essentially make sure that the player doesn't go too fast in either direction and that they don't go outside the player boundaries. Okay, so for respawn, if they're greater than 550, that means they're below the lava, so they should be dead. So if the lives actually equals 1, that means that they'll lose that 1 life and be 0, which means that they run out of lives and have lost. So then game over equals true, and that'll run sequences further down, and it also stops all the music. Then, if we're not stopping, which means that they still have lives, then you lose a life, so one of the hearts will go away, and the sizzle sound will come on. Okay, and this here is a dichotomous key that figures out which platform is furthest away. It does this by just comparing all the x's, seeing which is greater. And so, for example, let's say that platform 2 is has the greatest x, so that's furthest away. Because when they respawn, we want to give them time to come back. If we follow this down, so if it is greater, it is not, so we go to else. And then is platform 2 greater? Yes. And so it changes position like so. And it does the same for all the 3 other platforms. Now, since platform 1 and 3, as I've put it, are actually like above each other, they're on the same x, the program here simply chooses a random number and then picks a random position. So you'll go to platform 1 or platform 3, depending on a random number from 1 to 100. That is the moving for the player. Now for the platforms, this must be done by moving both their x and creating a random y value every time they move back to the start, once they reach the leftmost point on the screen. So I have a list of the possible y values, that is how far up and down each platform can go, to make sure that the player can still jump up and down, and that will be used later. Okay, so if we're not starting, that is not showing the instructions, and we haven't won yet, then the platforms can move. So plat speed is the amount that it will move each frame it does, the x, and that always increases with the level, as we'll see further down. So if it's greater than 0, that is it's still on the screen, then it will do that. If not, then go back to the very right and then make the y a random from this list up here, and it'll do the same for all 4 platforms. Okay, and so here are some functions that help with the scheduling of levels. So level 2 here just creates it to level 2, level 3 puts it to level 3, increasing the platform speed and making sounds, and this schedules the variable down here, which just increases the platform speed at a slightly slower rate, and also starts the shakiness of the platform, which can be seen in the gameplay. And so if the level is greater than 10, which means that you have completed the game and won and escaped from the volcano, then win will equal true, and the sounds will stop playing. Right, so within the draw function, if you have one, then it will play the win screen, which is a nice flowery background, and then display congratulations, you've escaped from the volcano on the screen. However, if you have not won, and you've actually lost all your 3 lives and it's game over, then the dark cave picture will still show, but then it will show game over and show what level you made it up to. This changes the platforms to the new x and y variables that they have from the platform mover function, and then imports them back into the list, and then they're drawn down here. This shows the shakiness factor, which basically just changes the color every frame to make it look kind of spooky and cool in a volcano. And this draws the player, and this draws the heart. So if obviously they have 3 lives, 3 hearts, 2 lives, 2 hearts, etc. And at the starting, these are the instructions. Now on the update function, we do the two moving for the player and the moving for the platform functions, if the player is still above the lava and moving. Here we've got the schedules at the start, the level 2 increase, so you got to make it past 15 seconds, and then level 3, 20 seconds, 5 seconds after, and then starting game will go for 5 seconds, but that's at the start. And obviously within level 3, we also then schedule the increase, which increases the levels up to level 10. So there is my Escape the Volcano game.
Trololo.